Okay, so we've got our website, sort of. What do you want to go through on this?
Um, Website.
All right, cool. Nothing else from your side?
Oh man,
All
I
right.
got derailed a bit. I had to sort out some family stuff, and then so I didn't get a lot of work done. I got 4 sessions over the last 2 days.
All right,
Not
fair
great.
enough. Yeah, hams. All right, okay. So, what do you think?
I think that I really like it. Is my general sentiment. I think what you're proposing is a structure more than the specifics.
Yep.
I I'm good with merging it after I check that it doesn't clobber some stuff because you've added some dust and I've added some dust and I just want to make sure that it merges correctly is the only sort of mechanical thing I want to check. But look, I wholeheartedly agree with the structure that you've chosen. I like the breaking it into 3 actors and then putting 3 points per actor. I think that's really good. I think the prioritizing of the messages at all levels, very good.
Yep.
I would like to talk about the specific content of each message and some overall theme-based clarifications or tightenings that might
Cool. That'd be really useful.
be possible.
Yeah, because the choice of what to focus on wasn't quite arbitrary, but it's certainly my view, and definitely
Yeah,
it's tightened up.
I think that I appreciate how much you had to discard to be able to present this particular view. And now that you've clearly found an island in the ocean, I think that we can paint that definition even clearer.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, cool. And it's
if you're
interesting.
okay with
Sorry?
if you're okay with me nitpicking.
Oh, yes, please do. Please do. It's a very interesting discipline having to only give 3 clear, non-overlapping but complementary messages. If we can stick to that, that'd be great. That was that thing.
3 orthogonal messages.
Yeah. But other than that, please nitpick away. Right, which page shall we start on?
Okay.
Will I share my screen? Or do you want to share your
It's,
screen? Just so
how
we're...
to do it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Fuck. I don't know if I can. I'm in Discord on a Chromebook. And I share my screen.
For me, it's right next video
the
button.
magic. The magic. Oh, wow. Oh, this is great. Okay, cool.
There you go. Cool.
You see my tab and what I'm doing it?
Hold on a second. It's asking me a question. Watch stream. I click it, see what
Oh,
happens.
yeah.
Ah, yeah. Right. Yeah. Good. Excellent.
Oh, this is seamless. Okay. Each one. I would propose a change from investor to funder.
As a kind of global change of that type.
As a global change, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And reasons are because a funder is a investor is an actual has a lot of connotations.
Yeah. Funder sounds. Now you mention it, friendlier, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's also more millennial. Not that we were going for that, but the point is that an investor fundamentally implies someone who puts in money and then sits back. We are
definitely not that.
requiring participation,
Yeah.
and investment also implies that you are receiving some sort of security rights or something. You have rights, but they're not securities law rights because we're explicitly prohibiting that because of the low trust environment we are operating in.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to make a type of promise that even needs regulating. You can't make those promises. You can't make investment promises.
Yeah, no, totally get that. Totally agree. I mean, it's similar to, you could change it to backer as well, but funder is probably better.
And, yeah, because it involves money. Yeah. So, that's good. The second, I don't have a good solution for you, but I would like to pose the question of how does a salesperson fit into the class of builder?
Yes. I mean, sales are contributors. I did think about calling builders
But they ain't
contributors.
building. I mean, I never met a salesperson I would call a builder.
Yeah.
I like salespeople. I'm not, but they're not builders.
They're
Like,
not.
those two words don't go together. You're like, is this person a builder or a seller?
But the problem with using contributors is funders and buyers are also contributors. So
I know.
it's too wide.
So here's what I think the word should be. It should be doers. Do hyphen ERS.
Well, like Fraggle Rock. Oh,
Like
my.
a lot of kids.
Yeah.
cartoons,
What do they call them? Doozers.
it's-
Call them doozers.
Doozers.
Doozers. There's people who made
Very
stuff happen.
similar then.
Doers. I get where you're coming from. Doers. I've just wrote it down and it looks like doors. DOERS. Doers.
You need the hyphen. That's what the hyphen's for. DO hyphen ERS.
And then it's doers. Okay. That could work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that covers everyone who does anything. If you do something, you're covered.
Right. Yeah.
And it also, in a sneaky way, encompasses funders and buyers because they are doing something too. But it's really like everyone's a doer. It's just some people are much more doer than others.
Yeah. While we're on names, I think I said this last time, but just so you're aware, I've been calling. So the collective name for doers, funders, and buyers now are actors. So whenever you're talking about all three together, you can use the word actor. Now, whether it's actor or contributor, we could argue, but we need a collective name because quite often in the text you kind of want to talk about all three because it applies to all.
About everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like contributor because it's a long word with many meanings that conflict sometimes.
Yeah.
Actor is good but too general. Participant is too long.
Yeah.
Member.
Ah, member. So that's just
Member, because you're in, man. You're in. User is for a drug
members.
addict.
No, you got it. Members is
Member.
good. Members is good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
All right.
Alright.
So,
We might need to look at, having someone better at this dealing with the color scheme, because all I've done is take
Look, it's fine. I mean, we gotta take this in sections, right? I'm basically saying the layout. I love the layout.
Yeah.
I love the structure.
Yeah, I've done very little on, the actual design
Yeah,
beyond that.
yeah.
I've
Those
done
are like
zero.
way down the list.
Yeah.
A general call out is that you talk about incentives, rewards, buying. You talk about a lot of different concepts on these pages, and I think you need to unify the term you use for them and to concentrate language that like your language needs to repeat in pattern.
I think I get where you're coming from.
So you've got like perpetual equity, reinvestment. Right? Investment should be related to the act of funding. Repurchase should be something like every time you buy. Like you're introducing. This is a really nitty example, but purchase is a new word as opposed to buying.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Yeah.
it's not clear. It's not clear that you are under the perpetual equity paragraph. It's not clear that you are talking about the actions of a specific member. It sounds very. You haven't focused because the repetition that we're trying to drill in is just different ways of saying that you are one of three members, and the things that you can do are buying, funding, or building, and you sort of want to keep hammering that concept, whereas when you say it in some of these places, you diffuse what that core hammering in is to be much weakly connected to those core concepts.
So, if I get what you're saying, I would rewrite that then. Earn NFTs for everything you do, everything you fund,
Yep.
everything you buy.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
got it. Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. It's a good spot. It's a really good spot. Yeah. I'm just getting this down. And if we're consistent throughout, then, as you say,
Yeah.
we're not asking someone to think, is a purchase the same as buying? Or
Yeah. And
purchase,
right.
you
And
purchase an investment?
it's more about not just being consistent with the words, but being consistent with the concepts as well. So the concepts are always like these narrow, limited handful of concepts that just get. Those are the only concepts we're talking about.
Right.
No.
So, for example, I just spot myself using hard asset NFTs almost interchangeably.
Yeah, there's another one, right? Like,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be interchangeable like that. And we really, got to pick one, and I think we got to pick NFT,
Yeah.
but I don't like it.
I don't like it either. I'm glad you said that. I was about to say the same.
So long as we have the same thing, and NFT can act as a placeholder now, we can rename it later, but it does need to be consistent. Talking about multiple things and using multiple words to describe the same thing is worse than having the wrong thing described.
What I would like to do, and this sounds like a nitpicky thing, but change NFT to NFA. Because we talk about assets, and assets is quite a useful word, and expand, I can explain, earn NFAs.
Why don't we, I agree with you, but I would suggest we can dissolve it even further and just talk about an asset. Plain and simple, it's an asset.
Yeah. And what is a hard asset as opposed to a soft asset? No, I'm having a cold read of this.
No,
It's like,
man.
it's like, can you hit it with a hammer then? And it breaks. Oh, I don't know. Yeah. Bowl of jello is that a hard asset? Right. I agree. Asset. Asset it is.
On the topic of general themes, I'm just pulling up my notes. So I believe you have searched for a considerable time for a motto.
Oh, you
Or-
got to. Yes. Something to rally around.
Easy.
Have you got one?
I'm not proposing one.
Oh.
I'm just there's a concept that reading the work you've done on the website helps me to start to detect some of the recurring themes that we continually plug away at. That so what I think a potential motto is directly connecting the economic reward from selling software to the economic incentive to build software. You hint at that direct connection many places throughout the site.
Yeah.
Nowhere do you call it explicitly. It's the connection between the money into the machine and the money out to the workers. Making that direct is really I had to pick one change that we said was the most important change we bring to the labor model. It would be that.
Yeah, I've kind of been using align incentives, which actually sounds a little bit tossy.
It's diffuse. Align incentives is not. It's also been used a lot.
Yeah.
You're not aligning them. You're directly connecting them.
Yeah.
There is no more direct way to connect these incentives than what we're saying.
So go through that phrase that you just went through. Connection between money in, was it?
Directly connecting economic reward from selling software to the economic incentive to build software.
Okay.
And I would to dilute that, to generalize that further beyond just software. The key attribute we're trying to bring to the world really is the direct connection of economic reward to economic incentive and cutting out everything in the middle. We are then saying that we want to open that incentive that we just connected directly to the reward. We want to open it to the entire world.
Yeah. It's so close, isn't it? Connect rewards.
Trouble is, we are always so close.
I know.
Every time it feels closer.
Oh, we are getting closer. We are definitely getting closer. When I was doing this, I went back through our Google Docs to look at all the stuff that we've written, and oh my god, it's something that would take 3,000 words. You can summarize it in a sentence.
Yeah. That direct connection echoes throughout your writings in this website version, but it's never explicitly called.
Okay.
Okay, and the specific paragraph I want to hone in on is permissionless collaboration. You sort of feels like that's the place to, and one of the places where, see, if you can massage these snippets a little bit to include that same theme of direct connection of reward to incentive, in you sort of, that's the theme that gets woven throughout, and you sort of don't need to say it necessarily, but it's the mechanism that we're applying. That is the, I think that's the mechanism of the Dreamcatcher. All the other stuff we talk about is really how to do it. That's the thing that it does.
Yeah.
That's what it, and that's what, if we made a machine and I don't even really care how it's built or how it operates, but if it could do that one thing, you're kind of solving one of the most ancient ancient gripe of the working man. It's like, I want more of the fruits of my labor.
Just briefly, because I've not put this up for review, because 3 calls ago, when we're talking about top level, it's like, whoa, you're trying to explain everything in one place. But that's where it started on the top level one.
I think, and you probably come a cropper on to fill in the blanks. Like, I think it's okay to just say, look, this is the top, and then here's how you approach the mountain, and fucking, you could wax lyrical for years about everything in between. Let someone else do that. We'll let you do that when we got time. Like, you need the benefit of the thing actually working to generate some data and learn some hard lessons, and then we can
exactly. All right.
Fill in the gap.
So, okay, well, leave that to me. But I think I know. I believe I know what you're talking about here. So there.
It's honestly, if I reread this whole website with that motto in mind, everything you're saying touches on that all the time, dances all around it, but it tries to say it in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's a bit sloppy, right? Like permissionless collaboration, you don't need to say not busy work if you were talking about this direct connection.
Yes.
You also couldn't use the word output, in terms of picking a handful of terms and sticking to them.
Yeah.
Output. See, this permissionless collaboration is a great place to indicate to the investors who would read that phrase that they only part with their money once there's delivery.
Yeah.
Whereas you just said output. I mean, like, it could be I did 8 hours of work and I output this code. It's the fact that we've packetized it, or we've packetized the work into useful QA passed, quality controlled packets of work. You only pay for a packet. You don't pay for anywhere along the way.
That's an interesting thing, because remember when I dry pitched that guy about a month ago, that was the one thing that, as a financier, he thought, well, hell, that's really good. So I'm only paying for stuff. I'm not paying for time.
If you pay for time, you'll get time. And funny thing is, there's lots of that to be found if you want to buy it.
Lots of ways to use it.
But software is what you want. You might have to pay a bit more. You might have to wait a bit longer. But if you want software, you should buy it directly.
But
you shouldn't buy out.
I agree, but the point you made 30 seconds ago was that output could easily be just, random stuff. What I was trying to say there is it's a hard thing. It's a, Yeah,
it's a packet. And even deeper is that it's not just that it's a packet of quality controlled software. it's a packet that someone else is paying to use as well. Like that's an even harder bar to hit.
Yeah. I'll have to think of another word there. Maybe outputs is better, because output sounds like something you could just do. Outputs is...
Output's too general. It's too general. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the delivery or deliverables, or like it needs to be a word that describes a thing. Software assets. You could turn that into something, because that's really what we're saying, that contributing turns your activity into an asset.
Right. Exactly.
The asset is a part of these software assets that are being used.
Could be software assets. Okay, I'll think about that. Okay. Personality spot.
I think that's my main message I want to get across, is this direct connection. If this machine did only that, would you be happy with it?
Oh God, yeah. Because I think I did wax lyrical a bit on the top level, which is still there if you want to see it, but it's not linkable from anything on the front end. The main point I was making is, if you manage to get any kind of process that is more efficient than any other kind of process, you're going to win. In innovation, the process that we've got at the moment is startups, 1604, etc., really inefficient. This is a more efficient.
I think that's the heart of the problem of why you struggle to define what the Dreamcatcher is because of the requirement to contrast it to other things. That takes a lot of effort, time, knowledge, thinking, explaining new terms, all that.
Yeah.
I suppose that we can skip a lot of that by focusing on this one very pure note that it tries to hit, which is the direct connection piece.
I'll have a think about this. But yes, I agree.
It does a secondary thing though. It's a direct connection is the first one. The second thing is opening up that offered incentive to anyone.
Yes, this is the larger network effects. Yeah.
The open part is important, and you don't really use the word open or you don't say the word open anywhere, and your concepts don't hint at open. You mention network, but it's still in the context of sounding closed and controlled.
Okay. Yeah.
The two key things, the direct connection and the openness of the incentive, the open offering of the incentive, those, you could make a Dreamcatcher that only did the direct connection. It'd be better, but it'd still be stifled if you didn't have the open part.
Yeah.
And as we know, there's open already, but without the direct connection, it just gets lost.
Yes.
It becomes weak and focused.
Okay.
So that targeted investment, you could weave that theme of targeted investment, because yes, I agree with that, and that is a really hard problem in investing. Is I want to put my money exactly on the target, but you end up having to get like a money gun and sort of go poof,
and end up with 4 boxes full of socks. Yeah.
Right, but the targeted investment is good. I just wonder if there's a way to weave in the direct connection part as well to that. The targeted investment feels closest to the direct connection out of the motto. Maximize a worldwide network sounds closest to the open the incentive. Open the incentive of the motto. Complete transparency is, well, how do you cooperate? How do you make that open part cooperative? How do I know that it's direct?
I think that well, that's an interesting point. So you got the direct connection between basically money and the reason why people build software. Okay, that's the number one. The second one is open to the world, which is the permissionless piece. I wonder if there's a third one, which I think is a really important one, which maybe it's not the word transparency, maybe it's something else, but it's you could make something that has that direct connection to incentivize, is open to anyone, and people get shafted left, right, and center. And the whole point of this is we're kind of hoping that people.
I agree with the importance of the reliability and the trustworthiness of the system that upon which this runs on. I believe, though, that is very much good. Like, there's like motto number one, direct connection. Motto number two, open the incentive. And there's like a big gap. And then there's number three, the trustworthiness of it. And the reason is that if you can't call it a direct connection if it's being corrupted by people getting shafted. Direct and connect remove and cover such a massive range of things in one shot. Direct connection. It's not a direct connection if it was corrupted, or if it was stolen, or if it was dampened, or if it was taxed, or all those things, right? It's not direct. There's only one and only one way to directly connect reward to incentive. Okay, and there's only one way to do that.
Okay.
Kind of like the concept. It's kind of like the concept of absolute zero. A direct connection is a direct connection. End of story. You know when you've got it, and you know when you don't have it, and you don't need you don't need a whole lot to know that it was or wasn't direct. It's either 100% pure or it's not.
I get. I'm going to be slightly archy back on this one, but with tongue in cheek. Because a direct connection between reward and incentive could also describe a master-slave environment where, I'm going to get my pyramid, and you're incentivized to do that to not die, because otherwise I'll, whip you to death.
Right. Okay. So maybe that needs a bit more tuning in, because the reward having built the pyramid, the reward for the pharaoh is not being directly shared with the incentive to build the pyramid.
Right.
They are misaligned to start with. You could go on for a while about what's wrong with that relationship.
Both sides would be entirely rational to go along with it, given the situation.
Yeah, but you could not say that there's a direct connection between the reward on the sell side and the incentive on the build side.
There's something there, isn't it? It's like all tides, all boats rise on a rising tide. It's like everyone wins. Everyone.
Yeah, there's something simplifying about this concept of directly connecting the reward. And if I thought of every known comparison that we've ever drawn, it's all about the indirection in that connection between It's all about talking about different reasons why we're better, why they're worse, why it's gone this way, how it started, but it's all about a diffusal and corruption of that connection between the rewarder and the guy that actually did the work.
How do we summarize that so it's blatantly obvious to reading it in a few words? Effectively, it's tying your ankles to another guy and then trying to escape from prison, right? So you're definitely going to be pointing in the right direction. If you don't, then bad things happen. If you do, good things happen. I don't know. Right. Well,
Anyway,
let's go through. I've got your point. I'll put a bit of thought into today. If I don't come up with anything better, I'll just directly use that, and it's a bit wordy, and maybe someone will turn up and.
It was more about the fact that you could splice that kind of a concept into every one of these snippets that you made. I will carry on if that's okay, then we can revisit.
Yeah, please do.
Yep. Perpetual equity. It sounded like it was not cleanly orthogonal from algorithmic cap table.
Okay, go on. I think it is, but why do you think it's not?
Isn't the cap table defining my equity?
No, it's emphasis on algorithmic. The fact is the cap table generates the fact of perpetual equity, and so the point.
What does the
So the key term is those last 5 words: receive algorithmically your fair return. That could mean just a payouts, a pay packet. Perpetual equity means you've got this asset that persists over time.
Perpetual does not mean forever. Perpetual means to continue to do something forever.
Yes.
That's different.
Yes.
You use perpetual equity to mean an everlasting rock or item, object.
Well, it's more like a fountain of goodness, which every now and again spurts in your face.
Perpetual. It's almost like immutable equity would be a better term there.
Immutable.
Because you've made it fuzzy, right? I think you're trying to talk about the royalties that come back, possibly forever. But you're also sort of trying to talk about the fact that it's yours and it stays yours and no one can take that from you.
Okay, right.
I think algorithmic cap table should absorb all of the concept to do with royalty payout, and perpetual equity should absorb everything. Or it is orthogonal in that it talks about what's yours is yours.
Yeah. So where's the steer here? So you're right. You just got the algorithmic cap table is about payouts. Perpetual equity is about the persistence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those are two different things, but they're blurry in the way it's being described here.
Okay, where I misfired? Let me read this again from micro to macro. Last time money behind good ideas, knowing who's behind them, and then receive algorithmically your fair return. Okay, so that means the main points there is algorithmic and fair return. You're going to get the money that you're owed.
Yeah, I would say fair return in perpetuity. And then you could remove the perpetual equity and call it immutable equity.
I don't know why I don't like immutable equity. I think I probably don't like immutable because it's such an overburdened word. Not with us, but just generally.
But it is overburdened. But the trouble is, the good thing about it is that it's always been the same. Like, it's always, even in the blockchain camp or the crypto camp, immutable means mutable. It's not wrong.
Is perpetual means in perpetuity, so forever.
Well, no, continuing forever, to be precise.
Yes. Yep.
Ever and continuing forever are two different concepts.
Oh no, sorry. Explain that to me. That's interesting.
Continuing forever means to do something forever, but to be forever requires no action.
Okay. So what is the similar word where you've got a rock? There's no additional effort required. It's
right. It's sort of immovable, irrevocable, permanent.
Permanent.
Programmatic.
No, it's not programmatic. Okay. Yeah, I've got what you're saying here. I disagree that those are not orthogonal. I agree that perpetual equity is probably not the right term.
Okay, so I'll move on to the next concept then. What are these rights when you say own the rights forever?
What I'm trying to do is draw an allusion to royalty rights. So the right to sell for example, if I was to create a fantastic music album, I could sell the rights to that. I could sell the royalties to that, but I would always have the rights to that.
Okay, I think this is an example of where a careful choice of our core concepts and words could allow this phrase to be more direct and also more cross-referencing across the other nuggets in the site. And the way to do that, I believe, is attribution. The word attribution comes up, I think, one time here, but no times.
Yeah, the reason I didn't put that in, I've used actually attribution in the next stage throughout. I think every stage has got something that talks about attribution.
But look, attribution, you can use the royalty concept without saying royalties if you talk about receiving attribution.
Yeah, so own the attribution forever. Would that be confusing?
Well, you can receive, but more directly, it's receiving attribution payments from buyers. That's really what's happening here.
Yeah.
The buyer, like when you fund something, you don't need to pay out attribution because you're actually doing the equivalent of some labor. It's when someone buys that from you that the attribution becomes due on everything that you reused. So that's the royalty stream. The royalty stream only happens when buyers buy something. And so to say that in that sentence, you've connected all those topics together so people can get an idea of this very simple mechanism we're trying to describe with only really a handful of parts in it. It's probably got like 4 parts. One for each actor plus one piece that is the pool.
Yeah.
It's a simple machine.
Yeah.
And all that we're doing here with this website is, first of all, describing the components of the machine and then talking about the interactions that we permit between them. And that attribution from the buyer to the holders of the perpetual, immutable, permanent equity. That's the direct connection.
That's an interesting way of putting it. Okay.
So hopefully, I know it's sloppy how I'm going about it, but I'm trying to say I believe there's a way to cross-reference everything, having a handful of concepts in the background. This presentation layer constantly references in a way that ties them all to each other much more deeply.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, going way back to the start, way back at the Pancreas Skunk Works, remember the 4 arrows thing? We haven't deviated much from that, really. The center part is the attribution. So it's the different benefits of engaging in, say, from one of those nodes with the other nodes is each of the points. And doing that exhaustively for that would only be probably 1, 2, 3, possibly 4, probably 3 points per actor type. I get what you're saying. I'm going to have to think about this. I'm going to have to re-listen to this. I don't have an answer off the top of my head.
Okay. The other part that's missing from investors is there's no mention of we've covered the lack of packetization. Is just reading this on its own as investor, it does feel like you're asking me to be an investor, which is classically put my money and my faith into some third party and maybe get back something. Whereas we're trying to say all you gotta do is put your money in. Your faith is taken care of by the packetization and crucially the QA model. So that QA model is as an investor, I would consider that the most important part of any investment I make is the quality of my return good? Is it good value in the market? Is it fit for purpose? Now, everyone deals with that in a different way. We deal with it with QA. Oftentimes, the investor in any given venture does not really understand the ins and outs of the venture itself. Otherwise, they'd maybe be doing it themselves or whatever. But the point is that you can lower the requirements for trust even further with this QA concept. Mm-hmm. So everyone's like the QA concept is neat because it's the first way that the machine is turned in on itself to focus on itself. So we took that direct connection of reward piece and the open incentive piece, and there's 3 actors that participate, and focus that in on the machine itself again, sort of like a turbocharger, to point at itself to improve its own quality.
Yes, and I think that at the highest level, really, there's no meaningful state changes without QA acting as a trip.
Right. And QA is just subject to the machine. QA is not an independent component. It's just the components of the machine pointed at the machine itself.
Yeah.
And so that, to me, is the perpetual nature of the machine. And that it can keep going because it continues to improve its own quality, because it has some of that incentive for some of that reward from selling is doubled back in on itself, be a reward for improving quality of the reward or the quality of the product that gets built.
Yeah, I do go into this under the investors learn more. But what I think what you're saying is it needs to be on this front page.
That's front and center, man. The packetization and the QA part is sort of part and parcel of the safety and the directness of the investment, because it's not just the builders that were doing this direct connection. That sloppiness and that diffuse nature of your effort is also applies to investors. They're offering a direct connection to you get software. You wanted to sell software and you wanted a cut of the rewards of selling software. This model lets you purchase software directly, quality controlled software. It was exactly what you wanted.
As a buyer, you mean? Yeah. Yeah. As an investor, what you want is the deployment of your.
No, I meant as an investor.
Oh.
Where's our discrepancy there?
You said you're buying software exactly what you wanted, but as an investor,
Yeah.
what you're missing out there, from the investor's point of view, he wants to bring cash he's got, get someone to build something, and the important piece is a buyer buy something. Probably doesn't want the software itself.
He wants to know that once demand has been identified, that when he puts his money down, he gets back what he thought he was putting his money in for.
Yeah, precisely. And it's probably too nitpicky a point, but he's not actually buying software. What he's buying is a connection between software that's being produced and buyers who want it.
Okay, what is the name for a piece of software, this packet of software that's being produced using our model? Is it just a packet for now until we come up with a better term? It feels like it's a thing, especially since we're associating or calling it an asset, and then we're making derivative assets off it and then paying royalty streams to those derivative assets.
So by packet. So previously I was talking about output, but we talked about that as being a wrong, inappropriate thing.
Yeah.
So we're replacing output in what you just suggested as packet. A packet is like the quantum investment and effort node. And you can't break that further down anymore. Let's call it a commit.
The Dreamcatcher will not process anything for you if it hasn't been quantized into these packets.
Right.
It is a packet machine.
Right.
It is not a continual invention machine. It is a packet-based machine.
Right. And the creation of that packet is defined by the interaction of the machine, interesting enough. So a doer builds it, an investor pays for it, QA agrees it's a packet, and then there's a packet, and that packet lasts forever. That's really the fundamentals. I quite like packet on that
forever one. Packet.
Yeah, I quite like calling it a packet.
I mean, that was what the fucking internet was, the first packet network, packet radio. It was like packet connections. I mean, that was a whole new concept.
Yeah.
Sending data as a packet. And then it's like, oh, you missed that transmission. Hang on, let me resend it.
Right.
Like, that's what our system's doing. It's like, oh, you failed to meet QA. Hang on, let me redo that.
But just redo that packet. And packets, just so I'm clear, the way I'm thinking about packets are actually the fundamental building blocks which can be aggregated into an asset. But it's the packets that are being acted upon by attribution. Of course it is, because you can go this reuse and recombination, right? So an asset is something that you can go out there and use.
Well, an asset is a collection of one or more packets.
Yes, precisely. Yeah, exactly.
Right, so I think if we can find a way to clearly introduce this packet concept, we can derive the whole asset concept off it too, because that was feeling fuzzy. But we're like, no, this is a packet. and it's as small as it gets.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
And then
an agreed
there's no
for,
limit
paid
to-
for, QA'd piece of work.
Right, and it has a set list of contributors. And when you buy it, you explicitly buy it. When you buy its use, or you know, and that packet, way that the packet connects the buyer's payment to the funders and the doers' efforts
Yeah.
is the direct connection of the Dreamcatcher.
That creation of the packet is should be woven throughout this entire thing, isn't it? Because investors,
packet,
what you buy,
packet.
you're funding packets. Sorry, funders, you're funding packets. Doers, what are you doing? I'm building
Funding
packets.
packets, and as a builder, you're building packets.
Yeah. And as a buyer, I'm building a collection of. I'm buying a collection of packets that does something I find useful.
Normal packets. You're buying the usage of some packets.
Quantized work.
And if we can describe the system to newcomers in terms of a packet, it seems simple for them to understand how that multiplies out.
Right. But also, it kind of in your head when you're thinking there's a packet machine.
Yeah.
It just this machine, people interact, and out pops like a machine gun full of packets.
Yeah. And the packet
simplified.
is the act of thingification. Where all of these fuzzy, woolly, roundabout things all coalesce into a physical thing.
Right.
Packet. That's where it becomes NFA, NFT territory.
Right. And it includes
when it
all the
becomes
information.
permanent.
You don't need to compare packets. That's an interesting thing. Because the packet incorporates all the information that it needs to continue to exist forever. It's just there.
Yeah,
Whether
and to be built
whether it's
on.
relevant or useful is a different matter, but it's there.
It's a different problem. But yeah, this packetization concept and the fact that the packet, just like TCP, has a checksum on it. The checksum is QA. It dedicates some of its transmission energy to quality control.
Right. And
This is a packet machine.
yeah, it is a packet machine, isn't it? And even those pieces of work required, say, to assemble packets into something that actually does something, generates a packet itself. That's the important part. And that's the kind of the hook. The thing I've been banging on about how do you incorporate services into this? But the services generate a packet because a packet is agnostic in terms of its payload, but very detailed in terms of its attribution and its creation, NFT-ish-nish.
It's thingification.
Thingification. Yeah. So, okay. I agree. Getting that onto this front page for investors. I have to think about how to word this because we can't just throw in the word packet because it's like, well, what's a packet? It could be anything from a TCP/IP packet to an overshadowed set
But then
of budget
again,
stuff.
the balance, the choice that you're going to have to make is that spending some time describing what packets are could save you a lot.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you've already introduced the concept of NFT. Now, if you came here without a crypto background,
yeah, or even
Like,
if you came anti-crypto, you'd be thinking, well, that's it. I'm just going to drop it at that point.
and so we were searching for a word to replace NFT.
It's packets.
May that word be packet.
Yeah, if you look at it, earn
Packet of
NFTs
innovation.
for every piece of work, every investment. That kind of collapses quite quickly. It's like create
Yeah.
packets.
And you could start to even bubble it up higher and be like that you're basically packetizing taking innovations to market. It goes quite high.
does.
And if you start with packetizing, that packetizing is the key distinguishing feature about how this machine works. And what do you do with the packets? Well, we directly connect the reward for purchasing to the incentive to building. And then why does that build faster? Because we open that incentive for creating packets to the entire world. And from there, you've sort of got the whole NFT problem out of the way by launching with packets.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, what makes up a packet? Well, each packet is a blockchain.
Well, they don't need to. No, people could use this the same way as they use the internet without knowing what a TCP/IP packet is.
Yeah. But it's easier. I think that's a good replacement for NFT.
That's lovely. I like that a lot.
Okay, I will move on if that's okay.
Yeah.
I have either 12 minutes or 42 minutes.
Right, can you give me 1 minute back?
Okay, we'll probably do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that name a lot. That makes, because that was the thing that it was as soon as I decided to pay stuff. The guy I was talking to, actually, all the guys been talking to, that seems to be the point where if you're picking up the bill, saying you pay for stuff is great. I mean, just like it. It's like, yeah, got something, as opposed to
they got these packets of innovation.
Right.
We have these properties.
Yeah. Right, anyway,
Okay,
right, let's use 11 minutes. Or 41 minutes.
Alright, so we'll skip through the investors headline there. Builders.
Doers, yeah.
The doers, I think that with the permissionless work is sort of going to be affected by the packetization weave. Be the expert. I like that concept. I think you can be stronger with that sentence in that you're really trying to maximize your value to time ratio.
Right. Yeah.
By allowing you to strike like that, it's the same that we're talking about the advantages of a guerrilla war force fighting against an occupying nation, is that ability to sort of just do nothing for ages.
Yeah. It's wildly asymmetric.
Yeah.
You could come in there and snipe, the one line of code that's needed for, I don't know, like a nuclear reactor, and end up with
just the right
6
time.
figures. Yeah.
So, builders love that because that's what everyone dreams about, actually doing the things you're really good at, creating genuine value in a very short period of time.
Yeah, and then hit the beach. Yeah. Because, yeah.
Depending on where you live, right? Like, beaches in Scotland.
Well, no, I've got a beach. I just, you just have to be Scottish to enjoy it and think it's actually a beach.
It's a beautiful beach. It's a beautiful beach. I love those beaches. I just would never, ever go in the water.
Yeah, so on the builder side... Sorry, go on.
Earn the rewards. Again, you shouldn't talk about royalties. You should talk instead about attribution from buyers.
Yes.
Because you can link... You got to be linking each actor, each member... You got to be linking to the other participants, the other members, to show how they all support each other.
Yeah. Agreed. As per top of the call on that one. Really, as a general kind of meta rule, any action or any consequence of using the Dreamcatcher should be an interaction between two or more of the actors. It wasn't a question, I'm just saying that out loud. I know what I mean.
Yeah, nothing. The machine does not self-motivate.
Right.
It only operates from the activities of a member.
Right.
And then the perpetuity of it.
It's an emergent
The perpetuity of the machine is about the fact that the members continue to get more out than they put in, and so they keep on pushing the machine forward.
That's so the longevity of the machine, you mean?
Perpetuity of it, the perpetual nature of it. It perpetuates because it's consuming energy from an outside source. People keep bringing energy in to run the machine because
Right.
they're getting good results from it.
Yeah, I agree.
So the idea being that the machine would continue to propagate, expand its membership base, and increase its quality because it was giving good rewards.
Right.
Than the alternative. That's why it would keep going, and why it should keep going for a very long time if it delivers on all the things we hope.
Yeah, it should keep going until it's irrelevant. I've specifically avoided any discussion about that on any of the pages that are linkable, because we're really arguing from each of the actors' points of view, and what they don't really care. They just if they take it at face value, these things, we're not lying.
Yeah.
There's something behind there. All you need to do is understand their bit.
And then we're also trying to show their relationship to each other is the main message we want to get across.
Yes. Yeah.
Forward App Store is a great place to introduce the relationship to funders and builders, whereas all you're related to there is the doers.
Side.
Sorry, not builders.
Buyers. Yeah. Okay.
So that's a good place for intertwining. Customization Sniper.
Yeah, I kind of made up that term. I like it, but I just made it up.
Do you like it because it has the word sniper in it?
Probably. Yeah.
There's got to be another word for the concept of when customization becomes very hard when what you want is only slightly different to what everyone else wants. There's some sort of a railroading effect that you can't. It's easier to do something radically different than it is to do something a little bit different. You know the feeling I'm getting?
Yeah. I mean, early on, I remember. I can't even remember the packages, but right early on, you wouldn't get the pound sign. You'd get the dollar sign. So everyone kind of used the dollar sign because it's just too hard. Well, that's quite small. It's just one character change in an application.
Right, and it was such a small change that no one could be bothered going through the release cycle and the politics and the blah blah blah.
Right.
Whereas we're trying to say that our system here it's like customization first, or customization it's much more fluid. I don't know if sniper is the right way to describe it. You're effectively saying the ease with which you can make a small customization, right?
Right. It's the kind of surgical cut. Just give me that bit, and I'll give you $10 for that.
Surgical. We call it surgical customization.
Yeah. You not like Sniper then?
because I mean,
I like sniping.
no, I don't, because it feels like someone just fucking shot my app with a 50 cal from 2Ks out. I'm like, why did you do that?
Okay, I'll give you that one. Okay, surgical, yeah. So that's the intention. It's precise. It's intended. It's directed, and doesn't affect anything else. Is the intent of that part?
Okay. Get rewarded for ideas. So that means that reward falls out to the first motto of the direct connection.
Yeah. So it's get attribution for.
You could say when they're built or funded, you receive attribution from buyers.
Yes.
So there's some way to stir all that in, and it's not, anytime you say rewards, it needs to be either preferably talking about the direct connection nature of it, and also the fact that rewards come from buyers. They don't come from anywhere else in our system, I don't believe.
And it's actually immoral to actually think of investment as rewards. Although many do.
Right?
Yeah.
I know.
Okay.
Okay. Alright, so I'm going to now click on Investors Learn More.
Okay.
Am I?
Oh, I've cut down the number of possible clickable.
Startup as code. Startup as code doesn't say that you're reinventing the wheel of business structure. It's like constantly reinventing what wheel?
This is the point I was making here was, as a startup, you've got to go through the same sort of thing as everyone else has to need to do.
I know your point, but it doesn't really say it clearly here, because it doesn't say that you're, like, that the companies you end up making these bespoke companies that are really just the same, sort of the same as everyone else, but different. Like, what a waste of time. Why do it, right?
Yeah. How do we say that, though? Because I like your point about not banging on about why everything is bad, but just making it very clear about why this is superior. And I think this is quite an important thing, because the DPL is quite fundamental to this whole thing. We don't talk about the DPL at all until way later, and we should.
Well, so it's almost like coordination, collaboration. Companies are the mechanism for that economic collaboration, and we're trying to say that it's sort of handled via software. So don't do that.
Yeah. So yeah, I like this end section, pre-grade framework. How you scroll down? Pre-grade framework that's designed and certified once, automated in code, and used by all.
That's good. Yeah, because that's good. Certified is a big winner. Now, I don't know who we're going to get to certify it, but point is, used by multiple people, certified, all that. It's just a better way for everyone to get along.
Yeah. So maybe I can just remove the overhead of the company bit as a bit of a downer. I'll think about that.
Yeah, it's ragging on something.
Yeah. We don't want to sound like we're banging on about how bad everything else is.
Us?
We never do that. Oh. What's that doing there? Okay, right, sorry. You've moved on to the next page. The formatting seems to be a bit shit there. Okay.
Don't worry. We'll
I'm
fix
not.
it. It's
I'm not
just a
going to worry.
mobile.
I'm not going to worry about it.
Dream, Dreamcatcher is designed to eliminate the inefficiencies in the innovation market. Yeah. Again, it's defining ourselves as the negative, whereas defining ourselves in the positive is connecting the
Yeah.
rewards and the
Direct
incentives
connection.
directly.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, you could get probably rid of this whole first section because it's talking about all bad stuff, right?
Yeah, but it's not that talking about bad stuff isn't in itself bad. It's sort of a problem statement, really, right?
Yeah. Well, there's two trains of thought on this one, isn't it? If you list out stuff of bad stuff, you are opening yourself up to saying to someone, "Hold on, that's not that bad. I quite like a lack of transparency, to be honest." And then you lose them at that point. Whereas if you list only good stuff, they're kind of, "Oh, I'm going to have to think about whether that's actually better than liking a lack of transparency." I'll have to figure it out.
Yeah. Like you can be wrong about something bad.
Yeah.
You can be less wrong about something good that you offer.
Right.
You're like, we do this and we think it's good because, and then it's sort of up to someone else to say they got to think about it to discard it.
Right.
Whereas if you just say that what they've already got is bad, they're like,
yeah,
it's not bad.
Is it?
Well, and they discard you.
We both know many people have made a fair coin on misalignment of incentives. Right. Thinking of no one in particular.
It's a tragedy.
Okay. No, that's a good catch on that one. Shit, I'm gonna have to. Yes. No. I agree. Actually, I've just talked myself into looking and removing all the comparisons with 1604 because I do have a way of banging on about 1604.
It's a good one to know, but I'm not sure that the age of a system is enough to discredit it.
No, being 1604 as a shorthand for this list of bad stuff, but the point I'm making...
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's just that it's surprising to a lot of people that the company structure itself might not be the way, or might not be the best thing for them.
Yeah.
That has been my consistent finding. They're like, no one has stopped and thought that shares were bad. No one.
Yeah. And not just bad, inherently disruptive.
Yeah. So maybe the problem statement could be more direct, and talk about why share structures in companies are disconnecting the reward from the incentive. If we talk about the negation of our motto, we're still talking about our motto. And if we talk about company structures, I mean, if you're an investor, you're going to want to know about company structure because that's the way that you have to do business. Okay, so talking about company structure as a diffusion or an inefficiency in attaining the ideal connection between reward and incentive is a constructive way that highlights our motto and also touches on some of the... Yeah?
Yes, I agree. And what, to my ear, the improvement there is as soon as you get into the ability list of things that are crap about the company structures that we use, then you can take one of these and say, no, I disagree. But if you have it as high level enough, if
you're talking about it, you're not talking about it being good or bad or hard or easy, okay? Because that's technically none of our business.
Yeah.
What is our business is that motto. And if we say that this share structure of a company detracts from the directness of the connection. The quality of the connection between reward and incentive is degraded by this structure. It's not really, you can't really argue with that. It's not,
Well,
like it's
yes, I agree.
right. Whereas the words you've used here are words that are, I don't know enough about the English language to classify these words correctly, but using my hands to gesture at what I mean, they say things like difficult, restricted, misaligned. They're not saying exactly what. Then like what specifically is wrong, right? It's sort of gesturing at something being difficult without saying why, whereas contrasting it all to it degrades the quality of the reward incentive connection is very specific.
Yes, agree.
Okay. So I'm gonna say that point number one actually doesn't apply. I would say that's deletable because the funny thing is, Mr. Maxwell, once this machine is built, this will be our problem every fucking day. Difficulty.
Oh,
and
just to save a bit of time, from what you just said 20 seconds ago, 1 through 5, I'm planning on throwing out, so we don't need to critique those.
No, man, no. This is a good section. I think it just needs to be transformed in the light of the negation of that key motto.
Okay, all right, carry on.
Absolutely, contrasting the company structure, because this is what everyone has right now. We're not saying it's bad. We're just simply saying that it degrades from the purity of the connection between reward and incentive. That's all.
Right.
You can't argue with us on that because that's pretty much self-evident. And if you believe that a more direct connection of reward and incentive is better for you, you're who we want.
Yes. And also that we've convinced that this is a more direct connection between reward and incentive than anything else.
Than company. Right.
Or not just companies.
You're a
pharaohs with 1,000 slaves. It's what we're saying is this is the best and non-perfect way of doing it.
Yep.
So, difficulty in targeting investment in exactly the place that's needed. Mark your point. Yeah, actually, that is the whole point of making this a non-security is to to make it. That points to you need judgment. You need to be actively involved. It is going to be difficult. Otherwise, why would you put any activity into it? Nobody's telling you it's not going to be easy. So if you flip that. Easy targeting investment, that sounds very much like a security.
Yeah. Number 2 is a very important point. The nature of a company with its closed doors is the negation to the second part of the motto, which is opening the incentive. The company's incentives are open to very few. And they are open in a degraded form at that. The acquisition or the receipt of those incentives is slow, cumbersome, and fraught with paperwork and delays. Again, degrading from the direct connection. But it's important here, this restrictions imposed by personal networks, that's really the key. The openness of the network is a big win compared to the company has to be closed because of its very nature.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. Because there's a reciprocal kind of agreement as well, and there's duty of care, there's employment contracts, etc., and there's shareholders and so on.
A misalignment of the market demand. I don't know how to contrast that to this way of thinking that I'm trying to lay out, but it's sort of like the fact that in a company you have to pick one path almost guarantees you that you got it wrong. Whereas in this open incentive model, it's a swarm.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because what was meaning there, as you know, is the buyer, by identifying their own demand, feeds into the investor paying for a doer to meet that demand. But when we're talking on the connection between the direct connection on the reward to incentive, the reward comes from the buyer. So I wonder whether we need to extend that kind of initial statement to include the buyer, because the connecting the reward to incentive doesn't necessarily include the buyer, but the buyer is the entire point. That's where the reward comes from, and that's where the incentive comes from.
The buyer